Okay, Julie, we have talked about a lot today, and you filled out a lot of stuff for me. How are you feeling right now?
I'm tired.
It
is a lot.
So much today,
Yeah.
and we hear that a lot. Before you leave, we do want to give you some skills that you can take home, some
Okay.
things that you can start doing today to make sure that Susie is set up for the best chance possible at following these sexual behavior rules. So you've heard me use that term a couple of times today. Susie is working with Miss Chloe next door and has gone over these sexual behavior rules, so I want to make sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And go ahead and take these home and start using these rules at home. So the sexual behavior rules that we're referring to, they're listed on this form, and we're going to give you this form to take home.
Okay.
So the first one, it's not okay to look at other people's private parts. That includes looking online, on the internet, on social media, as well as in person. It's not okay to show your private parts to other people, whether you're joking or thinking it's funny, or even quickly running from the shower to your room. If you're in a public area and your privates are showing, that would be breaking this rule. It's not okay to touch other people's private parts. That's with your hand or any other object. So if you threw a pin at somebody's bottom with the intention of hitting it, that would be considered breaking this rule. It is okay to touch your own private parts as long as you're in private and don't take too much time. So this rule, of course, would be applied when kids have to take a shower, when they're toileting. There has to be good hygiene around that. Another, it's not okay to use sexual language. We would include a lot of cuss words within this. That would be referring to body parts, as well as just talking about private parts in general. And finally, it's not okay to make other people uncomfortable with your sexual behavior. So this could encompass a number of things. So what we know about Miss Susie is that she accessed some information on the internet. So which rules would you say that she broke?
Well, she looked at other people's private parts.
Exactly. So
Okay.
even though that was online for us, that would be considered breaking that rule.
Okay.
Something that she was able to talk to Miss Chloe about today.
Okay.
These are rules that we wish all kids had. All kids that come here have broken these rules, and we just work with them on how to follow these best.
Okay.
So some things that we can do in addition to working on these rules to help kiddos make sure that they're set up for that success is just be explicit about what we expect. And we're not always clear when it comes to boundaries or sexual behavior, what we expect from kids. We don't often have those conversations or talk about some of that stuff, especially when we have kiddos that are 10. We don't always think about some of that stuff. So the first thing and most helpful thing that you can do is help Susie know what is expected at home.
Okay.
So first, we've given you some great rules that can kind of be a groundwork for these are things that you have to do.
Okay.
This is something you have to follow. So rehearsing those rules, even maybe practicing them across scenarios for, hey Susie, if your friend at school touched someone else on the butt and then said, Susie, do the same thing, what rule would that be breaking?
Okay.
That'd be breaking our it's not okay to touch other people's private parts rule. So helping her apply these rules and understand what each of them mean is going to be helpful, including everyone in the home so that everyone knows these rules is going to be helpful. And then also just setting good expectations regarding modesty and privacy in the bathroom, in the bedroom. Those are going to be things like you don't want kids showering together. So Joshua is 7. I hear from a lot of parents who have multiple kiddos in the home that they're allowed in the bathroom together. As your kids are getting older, that's going to be less and less acceptable. And for Susie now, who has these rules, privacy is going to be important. So having them in the bathroom together is not something that we would want to be doing.
Well, so would it be possible for me to get a second copy of that so I can have one for, maybe not just her dad, but, her dad is and I are divorced, so for having some at his house when they go there.
Yes.
What about when they are over at their grandma's house?
Yes, so any caregiver that's involved in providing care at this time, we're going to want to make sure that they have these rules and that they follow these rules.
Okay.
While we're first starting these services, though, it's going to be really important, since she's with you majority of the time, that for now you're making sure that she can follow these rules before you're sending her somewhere else, before she's going a lot of other places, that you know that she is following these rules, or that dad or grandma are actively participating in services with us, so we can make sure that they understand these rules and are implementing them as well as I know you will.
Okay.
but definitely a good idea to make sure they have copies.
Okay.
Because going from home to home to home, sometimes those expectations and rules change.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as she's learning these, we need those to be the same.
Okay.
So, as far as bathroom privacy,
Mm-hmm.
using the bathroom on your own, you have a 10-year-old girl who's going to be getting older and is going to want that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We also have bedroom time that we would want to be private. I know at your house she sleeps in a room alone. It sounds like at Dad's house she sleeps
Yes.
in a room at home.
Mm-hmm.
So we would want to make sure if she went to Grandma's house right now that she had her own bed in her own space, preferably in her own room.
Okay.
And for right now, we're going to say sleepovers, things like that are not happening yet.
Okay.
These rules are short term to make sure that she can be successful following these
Okay.
things and keeping good boundaries, with the goal of helping her get all of that stuff and know that she can be successful doing it.
Okay.
So we're going to make sure, bedroom-wise, bathroom-wise, that we have clear expectations about what we expect and what we want. You'll also want to be thinking about what you want for your own privacy. What are her expectations or rules when she goes into your bedroom? Does she have to knock on the door?
Okay.
How does she know what she is supposed to do when she walks in? Have you
Okay.
said out loud, here's what I want you to do before you go into my room?
No, I really haven't done that, so that's
Very
a good
helpful.
idea. Okay.
Yeah, most caregivers don't think about that. Most people don't think about that.
Mhm.
So very normal not
Okay.
to have discussed that before. While we're discussing this now, it's a great time to be thinking about your own privacy and what
Okay.
you would want for kiddos. So also modeling that behavior for her from yourself is going to be very helpful.
Okay.
So if and when you decide to date or have other people over in a romantic relationship, it is perfectly acceptable in front of your kiddos to display those appropriate sexual interactions, kissing, hugging,
Mm-hmm.
those romantic type things.
Okay.
Of course, we wouldn't want to do anything that's not age appropriate for them.
Okay.
That would be off limits. But giving a significant other a kiss
Mm-hmm.
is something that they can see and they can know that's an okay touch when I'm older.
Okay.
And this is how a good touch can look when somebody is happy receiving that touch.
Okay.
We will also be clear with Susie that as she gets older, her rules will change.
Okay.
And your rules are different because you're not 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be clear with that when we discuss these with Dad as well. That
Okay.
if he has someone in his home, the same is going to be true, that they're going to do what they see, so we want to show them what we want them to do.
Okay.
And
That sounds
demonstrate
good.
that modesty for them.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we hear a lot in the bedroom thing, we were talking about having our own room, having our own
Mhm.
space. We have kiddos sometimes that have bad dreams, have
Mhm.
nightmares, sometimes commonly. And so if that is the case, for now, while we're reviewing these great things, we would want you to comfort Susie, help her do some deep breaths or something to calm
Mhm.
down, and then put her back in bed. That reinforces a couple of things. One, it reinforces good boundaries, but it also helps Susie see, I slept in my bed all night by myself, even when I had a bad dream, even when I was scared, I made it through it and I did okay.
So are you telling me that she shouldn't sleep in my bed right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So for now, thank you for
Okay.
clarifying. And sometimes that's tough and sometimes we love the cuddles too.
Yes, and she does like to crawl in bed with me
Yes.
at night.
Sometimes
So,
that's hard. For
okay.
kiddos that we really have a difficult time with, usually they respond quite well to just the comfort of a hug
Okay.
or the comfort of just sitting with you for a bit and then a walk back to bed and another good night
Okay.
or something like that. So we're reinforcing for them those good boundaries. So as best you can, that's the most ideal thing, getting her back to her bed and her room and her space.
Okay.
So we also want to make sure that the kiddos are not given any role of authority. So since she has a younger brother,
Uh-huh.
it's common that we hear that they're babysitting, they're watching siblings, something like that. During this time,
Mm-hmm.
that is not setting her up to be successful to follow all of these rules if she has access to a younger child without supervision. So for now, and not forever, and that's not even to say that Susie would break a rule if that was true.
Okay.
But to help make sure that we've reinforced all these ideas before we put her in a position like that or a situation like that, it's going to be most helpful if she's not in a babysitting or authority capacity while you guys are here for
Okay.
this little bit of time.
Okay.
And again, all of this is with a goal to get you to an end point where that can be true. That
Okay.
can be happening for you all safely.
Okay.
For now, no babysitting, off limits for that. Some other things that we want to consider are what kind of access she has to explicit materials, sexually explicit materials, and this is just really unavoidable in the day and age that we're in. So
Yeah.
there's public television shows that come on that have scenes pop up that we maybe wouldn't want our kids to see, or access to friends at school that have social media or devices, even when you have not given Susie a device just yet, or even walking through the mall when we pass by a Victoria's Secret store. So really just doing our best to monitor while also knowing that you live in this world.
Okay.
So because that is true, helping make sure that she understands these rules best, and making sure you say to her, if you walk by Victoria's Secret, what rule is that breaking? Well, I just walked by, so that's not breaking a rule. That's correct. What about if you stared at a picture and you showed your friend a picture that was in Victoria's Secret and you took a picture of this picture? Then you're breaking some rules. You're looking now at private parts. Maybe you're being intentional and making someone uncomfortable about private parts. So just really helping them to understand these rules and again, setting them up well.
Okay.
Which brings me to the most important thing in the takeaway of today of this material. The best thing that you can do when you leave here is have a high level of visual supervision. So this means seeing what your kid is doing.
Okay.
Which for a 10-year-old, that's not always where we are. We know that's true when they're much younger, but when they get a little bit older, we expect to get to back off a little bit. So know that this is not forever. Okay? Know that for a little while we want you to increase this to help Susie follow these rules well, so you can feel confident in her ability to follow these rules, and so she can too.
Okay.
So for a little while, that high level of visual supervision, seeing what she's doing. And our main goal of this is we know that Susie most of the time is doing really good stuff. She has broken this rule that brought her to us. All kids, all people break rules. But we know that most of the time, Susie is doing very, very well. So by having eyes-on supervision, you're given a chance to really catch what she's doing good at.
Okay.
And you get to give her some specific feedback on, here's what you did really, really well.
So if she's in her bedroom by herself, I mean, do I still have to have my eyes on her?
That's a good question. So that this will be rules that you can set in place regarding if a door needs to be open, if a door could be closed.
Okay.
We have a rule that it is okay to touch your own private parts as long as you're in private and don't take too much time. So I'm not sure how you feel in your home about self-touch or somebody being in their room privately. If that is okay with you and something you want to clarify within that rule, that may be a place you would need to shut a door at certain times, but it may only be certain times that you set. And
yeah, and I don't really see that happening that much, but she does go in there and play with her toys, you know, and listens to music a little bit, or you know, plays stuff and draws and things like that. And so, you know, oftentimes, you know, her brother is in there with me, but I guess I'm going to have to be a little more aware of where he is throughout that.
Both kiddos. And so for now, while she's following these rules, it is going to be most helpful if she stays in a living area, or if she stays in a common area, or if she stays somewhere that you can see her, that you can see brother, that you know that what is going on for everyone at this time. If you were sitting in the living room and you say, Susie can go in her room and get this toy or play with this toy, making sure she's bringing it maybe back out to play for this short little while. For this little while she's following this. I also know that you mentioned earlier computers at school are a requirement, and because her rule that she has broken is accessing inappropriate material, it would be helpful for you to contact the school to see what precautions they already have in place. And please know that you do not have to tell them the whole situation or everything that has gone on. You can simply say, I want to know what precautions are taken on the computer to make sure that my kiddo doesn't have access to things.
That's great. That's helpful.
School
Thank you.
is likely not going to think twice about what you're saying as a good parent, and you are a great parent. They're going to want to know what is going on for their kiddo and what's taking place to make sure that they're not able to access those things.
Sounds good.
So just seeing what's in place, if you trying to do a little bit of research to make sure that's enough for what you think would be acceptable. And then while she's at home, making sure that computer is in a public space. So you're able to see on the computer what she's doing. I know she's going to have to do her homework on the computer right now, so you kind of keeping an eye on and making sure this is homework that you're
Kind of
doing.
looking over her shoulder once in a while. And,
Yes.
Okay.
And also then using that visual supervision to say thank you for doing your homework when you're supposed to.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
really
that's
proud
a great
of you for
idea.
getting that done.
Yeah.
I know this sounds like a lot. How are you feeling hearing this?
Well, I mean, some of it we're doing already. Some of it
Doing
will
a lot
be
of
an
great stuff.
adjustment. But you know, we got to do what's right for her right now, and I want to keep my son safe, and I don't want her on the computer like she was, and I don't want her seeing those things. So we're gonna do what we need to do.
And that's why Susie's going to be successful. She has a great caregiver that wants to implement this stuff and do well, and you're on your way to getting to these points where we can let her do all of these things and trust her to do them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.